right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Game Changers Live. My name is Sergio Tigera down here in Miami, Florida. And I got with me here live from up north, the frigid north, Mike C-Roc, Ciorrocco. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Sergio, man? Thanks for having me. Glad to be back with you. We know we had a call the other day, but I'm excited to see you again, bro.
Yeah. So C-Roc, if you haven't heard of him, is the CEO of People Building Inc., a WAYMO company. So he's a performance coach, author, dynamic public speaker, and visionary and thought leader. He's been featured by Yahoo Finance as one of the top business leaders to follow in 2020, and it's on a mission to build people. So at his core, he's obsessed with success and helping others achieve greatness. And he's a guy who had a fire lit in him at a very early age. And that fire really led him to inspire others to see the greatness inside of themselves, using past life events to fuel their fire. So as the founder of the What Are You Made Of movement, you can see it in the background there, and host of the hit podcast, What Are You Made Of with Mike C-Roc, he has inspired hundreds of thousands of people to use setbacks as rocket fuel for their comeback. So he teaches business professionals, showing them how to grow their business, starting with a foundation based on culture and accountability, to building their people to unimaginable levels. And he's got tremendous experience in that area. So both in person and on the air, C-Roc dives deep into his past during these talks to show how you can feed off of good and bad experiences. And in his forthcoming book, it's titled, What Are You Made Of? The Art of Building People. So Mike, welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be able to share with your audience and you. And man, just gratitude, much gratitude for having me, man. Thank you.
Awesome, brother. So, dude, your big thing here and your big message at the core of everything is around getting past setbacks. And now more than ever in this world that we live in, everybody's experiencing setbacks, right? I mean, tell me about your story, how that became, that core mission that you have to help people out.
So basically, it started when I was, a young kid. I came from a broken home. I don't remember my parents together. I grew up with a lot of broken people, broken mindsets, people that were had addiction problems, mental problems. But mainly the one thing that I remember the strongest is, I lived with my dad for 3 years and I dealt with a lot of psychological and mental abuse. The thing about it is that when you're a kid and there's divorce and conflict with child support and custody and step parents being involved and jealousy and all this different stuff. And when you're a kid, you're looking up and all this stuff's going on above you, and it creates a lot of confusion and chaos. But I will tell you that I thought it was ordinary. I didn't think there was anything different. I thought this is what's supposed to happen. And, I was thinking about something this morning, Sergio, is that being a kid that was the oldest in the families, right? And I was the only one that didn't have the same mom and dad. And I was just thinking about that today, about that how that affected me as a kid. And how I can convert, like I'm always looking to convert things into fuel for me, right? I'm not looking at a victim and reasons to hold me back. Yeah. So I'm always digging for more gold, more fuel. Yeah. And so when I lived with my dad for 3 years, from 8 to 11, dealing with all this stuff, I realized that although my dad had a lot of money and was well off and he did well for himself, being in a happy environment conducive to awesome growth for a kid, that wasn't it. And I decided that I needed to get out of there. So my mom filed court papers and my dad got them one day when I came home from school. He had this legal envelope in his hand. And I'm like, man, oh shit, here we go. I was thinking, that feeling that you get in your chest.
I mean, did you know what that was at the time?
I had a feeling because he said, hey, you need to go to your room. And I'm like, if this has to do with me, I know what it is. So it was like a time bomb waiting to happen. Anyway, I knew it was coming. So I went back to my room and I sat there for about 5 minutes, which felt like 5 hours, and just waited. And my dad, by the way, he was my hero. He had a masonry company. He had big forearms, rough hands. He's always working hard. Yeah. Worked on weekends. I mean, I looked up to him for that. And he always carried this wad of $100 bills in his pocket with a rubber band around it. And he used to show it off and flash it. And as a kid, I looked up to that. And so, he came back to the room and he said, hey, you know what's in this envelope, don't you? And I was like, yeah, I don't know, And so when that happened, he opens it up and says, it says here you want to move back with your mom and her new husband. And, they don't have it that well there. Like, you got it made here, man. You got everything you need here. And he's going on trying to basically sell me, right? But I remember my mom said, when you believe in something, stick to your guns, because people will try to talk you out of your beliefs. people will try to talk you out of things that you feel firmly about, that you want to do. Stick to your guns. And I remember that thought went through my head when I was 11, when that was happening. So, I said, yeah, I do want to leave. And that's my decision. I made my decision. There's no use really even talking any further about it. And so then he takes the wad of $100 bills out, peels one off, crumples it up and throws it at me and says, here, you're going to need this when you're living on the streets with your mother then. And then he walked out. So that happened to me. And when that happened, like I thought two things. One, remember, I thought it was ordinary, right? So I thought, I can't be the only one in this situation. There's other people that had to have this happen to them some way, form, or fashion. And I'm going to show those people what can happen if you just turn it into fuel. Now, again, I didn't know that concept. I just knew that I was going to help people.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, what was going through your mind at that point? Because I remember, as a kid, the only thing is what you've seen, and it's basically what you've seen with your parents, and you think it's right because those are your parents, right? You look up to them; they're adults, and they're supposed to be doing the right things, and they're supposed to be teaching you, and which we kind of buy into that. Is this how it's supposed to be? But then you had your mom telling you, hey, here's a different point of view, and so you were able to kind of latch onto that and make that distinction.
I only remember just a few feelings and thoughts. And the one that I thought was, I want to help other people that have been through this. I'm going to be a role model. Number two, I thought to myself, I ain't letting you win. I'm stubborn. And sometimes that strength can be a weakness. Sometimes your assets become your liabilities. And, I just remember thinking that I'm not going to, this ain't happening. Like I'm in a ring fighting, and my trainer throws in the towel. My support throws in the towel. Yeah. Well, at that point, I ain't stopping. I'm going to keep fighting. And that's just my thought process. And maybe that's just the way I'm built. But, it served me well. Now, I've got me into trouble too. Some of my stubbornness has got me into trouble. But, at the end of the day, the whole premise of what I look at every single day is, where can I get fuel? And how can I turn setbacks and negativity and people that I tell my goals to a lot of people, and they think I'm crazy, and they'll laugh. I even told my team today, the mortgage company that I work in, I run a large group for Nations Lending, It's 40 individuals. I told them today that my one of my dreams is to start a clothing line, and kind of a mix between activewear like Nike and Under Armour with Hugo Boss. And I see, I have that, like, they're on the screen, right?
Hugo Boss right now, and then and your logos and everything. You got the groove.
Yes. So I see their faces, and then a lot of them are like this, and I'm like, I love it. I look for that. I'm like looking at their faces. I'm looking at the ones that are going to be there to support me, and the ones that I need to stay away from. But also, I look at that fuel. Like, all right, come on, now you just challenged me, and I love that. Like that's what I live for. So now it just propels me higher to where that may have been a dream, and I might have given up on it, but now I can't. So, these are the kind of things. This is just the way I think, and I don't know if it. I think it will work for everyone, but I'm just telling you what works for me.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody needs to find that, especially right now. So, when people have lost their jobs and people have been shaken up, maybe they've lost family members. I've spoken to a lot of people, a lot of clients, a lot of friends who are wanting to rediscover themselves, right? And kind of, they found themselves in a career that perhaps has, served them well. They've made money, they've done okay, but they're not passionate about what they're doing. So what advice would you give to them if they're in that hole right now and they're trying to figure out, what's the next, 5-10 years of their life look like? What would you tell them?
Well, by the way, dealing with loss, I mean, I've dealt with, family members committing suicide. I've dealt with sudden losses. Like my stepdad, George, he's the one that kind of stepped in at 11 years old, and right at the perfect time for me when I was getting ready to go through puberty as a kid and become a man. He was there to show me what a man's supposed to do, and how he's supposed to support his kids and be a great husband and all these things.
Wow.
But I lost George back in, I guess it was 2019, January of 19. He suddenly died of a heart attack. And he was a strong force in my life, a mentor. And, I lost him at that moment. But again, this is something like when somebody says, well, yeah, the setbacks that you're talking about turning into rocket fuel don't have anything to do with losing people. You're talking about maybe a money thing or somebody putting you down or something. No, I'm talking about any setback or letdown. And what happened with this is that, and again, I'm just sharing my experience. I don't know if it's for anybody else, but because I don't want to come off like I'm preaching to people. But George left. I had a feeling. He was a very passionate guy. And I had a feeling after he passed, within a week, of the passion that he had inside of him all of a sudden lit inside of me. And I don't know how to explain it other than just I believe in energy in people. I believe in souls and spirits in people, and not like ghosts, but like the spirit of someone, and their passion and energy came inside of me, and I just lit on fire. And then that's when this mission, the What Are You Made Of mission, really actually got started. And it just feels like I never run out of energy and I can't be stopped. So I really use and live off this, convert all setbacks, letdowns, negativity into rocket fuel, man.
Yeah, so you never run out of it, really, because when you have successes, you use that as rocket fuel as well, and then the setbacks as well.
Yeah, and to answer your question about like people that are going through these things and what they should do going forward for their future, really, to me, like I like to acknowledge what's going on. Like I don't like to get in a situation of denial or anything. Like acknowledge the fact that you had a setback, a letdown, and then take it and see what you can get out of it. Because Sergio, when you're going through a bad situation, the closer in proximity you are to that situation, the worse it feels, the more hopeless you feel. And as farther away you get, they say time heals all wounds, right? The further you will get away from it, the more you start to realize there is good that comes from it. If we can get our minds to be right in the situation or prior to a setback or letdown and understand that we're looking for these things to use and convert as fuel, we need them in our lives. It's a necessity.
Right.
It changes everything for you. And that's the things that I teach. And that's what I want to get across to people. So really accept and then convert. And once you do that, man, man, your life is never the same.
Exactly. And I find a lot of people that, making mistakes is a huge issue for them, right? They're perfectionists, or, it really bothers them. It really gets them down. But there's also the point of view that, hey, mistakes is just practice, right? You only lose when you give up on what you're trying to do. And it's just part of the process, right? The more mistakes you make, eventually you're going to get to where you're going, and you need a level of persistence in that. And then that's all, speaking to that mindset, right? Because a mistake could be seen as a setback and as another obstacle, but you're going to get eventually, no one's perfect. So
yeah, look, all successful people had a journey to get to where they were, and it was filled with mistakes and setbacks and letdowns. I can assure you of that, but it's an invisible journey a lot of times. And so what I'm doing, by the way, is I know where I'm going. I'm very clear with my intentions. I have written down exactly where I want to be and where I'm going. I know it's going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind. It's just a matter of time. So during that, I'm documenting my journey as I go so people can see the things that happen to me, can see the letdowns. I'll do a video every day talking about what's going on, the successes that I've had, the setback that I had today. I shoot for the stars, by the way. Like I go big early. I'm like a year and a half into this mission that I'm on. And I don't, like, when I first started my podcast, I started asking big guests right away. I didn't wait.
Yeah.
Some people take longer to accomplish things, and they think, well, you gotta pay your dues, man. That's okay. You got to pay your dues. And I understand that, but that doesn't mean that I have to wait. Like I can still try and go for it. Right.
Afraid of it. Yeah.
So
vulnerability is a big issue as well, because as you take risks, you're putting yourself out there, right? Doing something like this, many people would say, oh, well, if I'm live out there, what if I say something stupid? If I sound, if I look funny, if I say something that's wrong, and we put ourselves at risk, we tend to avoid doing that. But if you don't take action, and you're not going to wait till all the lights are green to go. It's like, you got to work on things. You got to take action immediately. You're a big fan of Grant Cardone, the 10X, right? You got to 10X everything that you do to get to where you want to go, and having clarity in your vision as to where you're going is really important.
100%, man. Would I worry, or think about what I'm going to look like or appear out to the world? Branding is important, and self-brand is important and all that. But man, look, when I do videos, I don't worry about that stuff, because remember, people do not think about you as much as you think they do. Yeah. They may see it once, and then there's something else right away on social media, bang, takes their attention.
Especially now, yeah.
You're done. So not only the bad stuff, but your good stuff. You need to keep putting more good stuff out there, because people have short attention span. So I don't ever worry about that. And I encourage people, stop thinking about that. Like, I want people to know my name and my content that I'm putting out there to help people. And if I stop doing that because I'm worried about what people think, I'm letting my dad win. Now, again, I love my dad. I don't get to see him. It's not my choice. Unfortunately, it's out of my control right now, but I'm not going to let that 11-year-old kid lose. And so that's what I'm always looking for every single day when I wake up, man. I'm like, if I don't feel like getting up and going to the gym, if I don't feel like doing something I'm supposed to do that's going to lead me to my goal, I remember that moment. And I feed off of that. By the way, every decision you make, Sergio, every decision, action, thought, word you speak is either going towards your intentions or away from your intentions. There's no in between. So this really makes things simple for you. And if you're not getting what you want or where you want to go, just do a quick audit of your decisions and thoughts and words and actions and all that.
Yep.
So
exactly. So we're on with Mike C-Roc, Ciorrocco, host of the What Do You Made Of podcast, #WAYMO. That's a cool hashtag, man.
Well, by the way, I got to share something with you on that. Not to cut you off, but WAYMO, I got in trouble with WAYMO. So yeah, so no, it's fine. I mean, you're doing it. I'm not doing it. What are you made of? What WAYMO is short for what are you made of? And I was just putting that hashtag out a lot and talking about it a lot because, you know, what are you made of is really long. Well, Google apparently has a company called WAYMO that's a self-driving car technology. And so their attorneys reached out to me and said that I can't use it on my clothing and website and all this else. And I'm like, fine. What if other people do it? And they're like, well, we can't control that. I'm like, yeah, good. So that WAYMO thing, you know, I had to go away from that, which is fine. It's something that we were using just for kind of like a battle cry.
Yeah.
But we're pushing really hard now on the rocket fuel concept. So
awesome, man. Love it. So tell me about, speaking of rocket fuel, tell me about the new book coming out on What Are You Made Of? Tell me about that.
So the book was going to be called What Are You Made Of? But we didn't like that because the podcast was already named that. So we just changed it about a month ago to Rocket Fuel. And it's a more punchy title, and it's more what I talk about a lot, you know, in regards to what the book's going to be about, turning setbacks, letdowns into rocket fuel. And so in that book, I'm going to be sharing some more of my stories in greater detail of what I've learned growing up and being around all the broken people that I was around and how I've gotten out of that. And also the podcast that I've had some great guests, and I want to share some of their insights on what they were made of and how they turned setbacks into rocket fuel. And I'm working on some great people to put some quotes in and maybe even have a forward from a really big individual.
Nice. Awesome. I think I might know who that might be. So awesome, my brother. Hey, great having you on. Best of luck with your book, with all the advice that you've given. Make sure to check him out at Mikey C-Roc on Instagram and the What Are You Made Of podcast. And also be sure to catch all of our episodes on Gamechangerslive.co. You can find that over here on Gamechangerslive.co. If you can see that. And then also on this YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe. All right, my brother, have a good rest of your week. Good having you on Game Changers, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you. If there's anything you need, just reach out to your boy C-Roc, and also DM me on Instagram, guys. I answer my DMs. I'd love to engage with you.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Take care.